Three friends, Kevin, Laura, and Emily, were always thrill seekers. This time, they decided to do something truly terrifying. On the outskirts of their small town stood an abandoned school, shrouded in various eerie rumors. It was said that many years ago, something horrible happened there, but the details had long faded from the memories of the locals. The school had been closed, and no one dared to enter it. This mysterious place attracted the attention of the teenagers, eager to test their nerves. As evening fell, the friends gathered at the entrance to the old school. The building looked dark and foreboding, with its cracked walls and broken windows. Overgrown ivy crawled up the sides, and tall, wild grass surrounded the structure. Laura felt a shiver run down her spine, but she didn't want to show her fear. Kevin, always the brave one, stepped forward first, pushing open the massive wooden doors. The hinges creaked as if protesting against their intrusion, but the doors slowly opened, letting in a gust of cold, stale air. Inside, the school was even more eerie than they had imagined. Narrow, dusty corridors stretched out before them, and the weak beams of their flashlights barely penetrated the darkness. Old desks were scattered haphazardly, some broken, with books and toys lying on the floor, covered in years of dust. Laura thought she saw a shadow flicker in the distance, but she shook it off, convincing herself it was just her imagination. The tension in the air was palpable, but the trio pressed on. As they ventured deeper into the school, they came across a classroom with a faded inscription on the chalkboard. "Do not stay here at night," Kevin read it aloud, and the friends exchanged nervous glances, trying to laugh off the unease that was creeping in. The room was filled with broken furniture, torn notebooks, and a thick layer of dust that covered everything. Emily, feeling a growing sense of dread, suggested they move on, but Kevin was determined to explore further. Eventually, they came to a large, heavy door at the end of the corridor. It looked like it hadn't been opened in years. Kevin, using an old metal rod he had found earlier, pried the door open. Beyond it was a dark and dusty auditorium. The room was vast, with boarded-up windows that blocked out any light. A broken piano sat in the middle of the stage, covered in dust and cobwebs. Kevin approached the piano and playfully pressed a few keys, producing a dissonant, eerie sound that echoed through the room, sending shivers down their spines. Laura, feeling increasingly uneasy, glanced toward the back of the stage and thought she saw something move in the shadows. Her heart raced, but when she shone her flashlight there, the space was empty. Emily noticed Laura's anxiety and tried to comfort her, though she herself was beginning to feel the weight of the ominous atmosphere. The once brave faces of the group were now marked with fear, as the school seemed to come alive around them. Suddenly, they heard a faint sound, like the distant laughter of a child, echoing through the auditorium. The trio froze, exchanging worried looks. Kevin tried to dismiss it as the wind, but the laughter didn't seem natural. Laura and Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone in the school. The old stories about the school's haunted past began to surface in their minds, filling them with a growing sense of dread. Determined to prove their bravery, they decided to explore the second floor. The old wooden stairs creaked under their feet as they climbed, the sound echoing through the empty halls. The second floor was even darker and more dilapidated than the first. The peeling wallpaper and cracked walls made it look like the school was crumbling from within. The friends moved cautiously, their flashlights barely illuminating the path ahead. Each step felt heavier, as if something was trying to pull them back. At the end of the hallway, they found the door to the library, slightly ajar. Kevin, ever curious, pushed it open. The library was filled with tall, dusty bookshelves, their contents long forgotten. In the center of the room was a large table, covered in a thick layer of dust. Emily picked up an old book, but when she opened it, the pages were blank. As she showed it to the others, the light bulb above them flickered, plunging the room into brief darkness, filling them with an overwhelming sense of unease. When the light returned, they saw a message written in the dust on the table. "You will not leave this place." The friends stood frozen in shock, staring at the words with wide eyes. This couldn't be a prank. They had all seen how it happened. Panic immediately flared in Laura's mind. She tried to convince the others to leave, but Kevin, still skeptical, insisted that they continue exploring, convinced that there was a logical explanation for everything. They decided to investigate the basement, where the school's darkest secrets were rumored to be hidden. The descent down the creaky, narrow staircase was nerve-wracking. The basement was cold and damp, with a musty smell filling the air. The walls were covered in peeling paint and strange, unidentifiable marks. Their flashlights struggled to cut through the darkness, creating an oppressive atmosphere that seemed to weigh down on them with each step they took. The basement was filled with old, rusty metal cabinets and broken wooden crates scattered across the floor. The walls were adorned with faded children's drawings, adding an eerie touch to the already creepy environment. Laura noticed fresh footprints in the dust, as if someone had recently walked through the room barefoot. Her heart raced as she pointed them out to the others, but Kevin brushed it off, insisting they keep moving forward. Kevin opened one of the rusty metal cabinets and found an old, yellowed school register inside. As he flipped through the pages, he noticed the same phrase written over and over, "Don't let them go." Laura's fear intensified as she read the words, but Kevin still refused to believe that they were in any real danger. Emily, however, was beginning to panic, sensing that something was terribly wrong. As they continued deeper into the basement, the light from their flashlights began to flicker and dim, casting eerie, shifting shadows on the walls. Suddenly they heard a faint whisper, like a distant voice calling out to them from the darkness. The basement door slammed shut behind them with a loud bang, trapping them inside. The whispering grew louder, surrounding them from all sides, filling the room with a sense of impending doom. Emily screamed in terror as the shadows on the walls seemed to come alive, twisting and shifting into sinister shapes. Kevin rushed to the door, desperately trying to open it, but it wouldn't budge. Laura and Emily clung to each other, their faces pale with fear as they realized there was no escape. The oppressive atmosphere in the basement grew stronger, and the whispers became more distinct, as if trying to communicate with them, warning them of the danger they were in. The friends, now thoroughly panicked, began to search for another way out. The basement seemed to close in on them, the walls almost pulsating as if the building itself were alive. Shadows flit around them, just out of sight, adding to the overwhelming sense of dread. Laura's heart pounded in her chest as she realized that they were trapped, with no hope of escape. The once brave teenagers were now consumed by fear, as the full horror of their situation became apparent. At the far end of the basement, they found a closed door. Kevin, using all his strength, broke it open, revealing a small, dark room beyond. The room was empty, save for the thick shadows that clung to the walls, almost as if they were alive. The trio cautiously entered, their flashlights flickering as they scanned the room for any sign of danger. The air was thick with tension, and every breath felt heavy as they realized they had ventured too far. Inside the dark room, they saw a shadowy figure slowly emerging from the darkness. The figure was indistinct, more of a presence than a solid form, but its malevolence was palpable. The friends backed up against the wall, their faces filled with terror as the figure approached. Their flashlights barely illuminated the room, the light weak and unstable, adding to the growing sense of horror. Kevin, in a desperate act of bravery, rushed toward the figure, trying to confront it. As Kevin reached out to the shadowy figure, it suddenly dissolved into the darkness, and Kevin collapsed to the floor, motionless. Laura and Emily screamed in terror, rushing to his side, but it was too late. Kevin was gone. The room seemed to close in around them, the shadows growing stronger and more oppressive. The girls realized they were now alone in this haunted place, with no hope of escape. Their fear was now all-consuming, as they realized the true danger they were in. The shadows in the room began to close in on them, the walls seeming to shift and twist as if they were alive. Laura and Emily clung to each other, their faces pale with terror, as they felt the overwhelming presence of the malevolent force surrounding them. The air grew colder, and the whispers became louder, filling their minds with a sense of dread. The realization that they would not escape this place alive sank in, as the shadows finally engulfed them, leaving the room empty and silent once more. When it was all over, the school doors slowly opened, as if the building itself exhaled its last breath. A deep silence settled over everything, and it seemed that the school had once again fallen into a quiet slumber. No one disturbed its darkness anymore, and no one would ever know what happened to the teenagers who dared to challenge the shadows. Rumors about the missing teenagers spread throughout the town, but no one knew what really happened to them. The search yielded no results, and soon the town left the school alone, as they had many years before, understanding that the place held too many secrets that were better left uncovered. But the school did not forget those who dared to enter. It continued to stand on the outskirts of the town, shrouded in its eternal darkness. The shadows that dwelled within waited for new victims, those who dared to disturb its peace. And each time someone passed by, it seemed as though the school whispered to them to come closer, inviting them into its deadly embrace. This story will remain one of many urban legends that frighten children and teenagers. But those who knew Kevin, Laura, and Emily will remember them as the ones who disappeared without a trace, becoming part of the eerie legacy of the abandoned school. Their fate will serve as yet another warning to those who decide to test themselves and challenge the darkness that lurks within. Now, the abandoned school stands even more ominously, even more threatening. Its doors remain open to those seeking adventure, but only a few dare to enter. Anyone who dares to cross its threshold may become the next victim. For here, in this forgotten school, the shadows never rest, and they are always ready to consume new trespassers. The school seems to come alive with the arrival of night, its corridors fill with sinister whispers and strange shadows that move in the darkness. Every step on its dusty floors is accompanied by the feeling that someone or something is watching you, ready to grab and never let go. These thoughts enter the mind of everyone who dares to approach the school after sunset. At night, the building seems to change, its form distorts, and the shadows grow denser and more real. The legends that no one can leave this school if they stay after dark become increasingly believable to those who dare to get close to this sinister place. The townspeople avoid the school, especially at night when the moon hides behind the clouds. They don't risk approaching the building even during the day, fearing what lurks inside. Many have heard stories about how those who dared to enter never returned. And though these are only urban legends, everyone in town knows that there is some truth to them. Some even claim to have seen shadows moving in the windows of the abandoned school and heard faint whispers coming from within. From time to time, teenagers seeking thrills decide to challenge fate and enter the abandoned school, but none of them return with stories about what they saw inside. And each time someone disappears, the school remains silent, keeping its secrets. No one knows how many have fallen victim to its dark secrets, and no one will be able to uncover the full truth. The building stands as a silent witness to all the horrors that have occurred within. It keeps its secrets buried deep inside, not allowing anyone to learn what truly lies in its dark corridors. Even those who pass by during the day feel its sinister influence. Every time the wind blows down the street, it seems that the school is whispering its sinister secrets, but no one can understand these words. Now the school stands even more ominously, and anyone who dares to cross its threshold may become the next victim. But no one in town wants to speak of it aloud. Everyone knows that this place is cursed, and it's best to stay far away. Nevertheless, the sinister aura emanating from the school continues to attract those who seek adventure, but they must pay a high price for it. The story of Kevin, Laura, and Emily will remain in the memory of those who knew them as a reminder that some places are better left alone. The school, which became their final resting place, will continue to stand, consuming all who dare to challenge its darkness. And each time someone approaches the building, the school waits, ready to claim a new victim. Because in this school, the shadows never sleep,